G'day, g'day.
Hey man, how you going?
What do we got here?
Inflatable boat, finally. Nice to meet you.
Okay, so what do we got here, guys? New Highfield dinghy. Learning by Doing presents The Mad Dash. Watch us every Tuesday morning on YouTube. Join me and multiple crew members as I take our Crowley catamaran from Sydney, Australia all the way up around the top to Lombok in Indonesia. Made possible by our patrons. Thank you very much, you guys, and also our sponsors here on board for this trip. Thanks so much, guys. You can also follow us along on Marine Traffic or Vessel Finder. Trade Runner is the name. This is direct out of the container, straight off the ship. Chris here from Northside Marine, in the north side of Brisbane. Just spent yesterday, the whole day unpacking?
Last 2 days.
Last 2 days unpacking Highfield dinghies, and this is my one. Been waiting a couple of months for this, didn't tell you guys about this, but this is a little surprise. We got a new dinghy. So we've got it all pumped up and all filled up with all the stuff, the engine on it, as you can see, and now it's time to make sure it fits on the davits. Obviously it's a different shape, a different weight, different size than the last dinghy, but I'm hoping with minimal adjustments we can just plonk it straight on here and it'll be good. So there's multiple attachment points on this dinghy, as you can see. I'll show you. So we got this single one. The problem is here, if you pull it up wrong, then it will be chafing on here, which we don't want. And then under the oars here, got two. So that's more further back, that's in here. That would be sort of good because you've got a spread out load. And then obviously you've got these two at the back, I've got these hooked onto in here. And then there's also these two either side of the motor. So heaps of attachment points. Now it's just a matter of figuring out the weight distribution and that there's no rubbing of the lifting wires against the tubes. That would be the main worry, because obviously at sea when you're going through waves, the dinghy's sort of, even though we will secure it with other lines up the top to stop it moving, you do always get movement. So if there's any sort of, especially a metal cable against these Hyperlon tubes, that won't last long before they're rubbing through. So I've attached this in basically the most simple way I can right now, and now we're going to go and haul it up and just check if it works, you know. Like, it's just a matter of hauling it up and checking that it's not rubbing, that the ropes aren't pulling the engine, for example, or that we're going to be able to lift the dinghy high enough, things like that. Let's give it a go. All right, we were. You pull the front, I pull the back.
Yep.
Well, that looks pretty good for a first go. Let's go and have a look at it. She's looking pretty good. I would say that looks pretty pretty spot on. It's a little bit lower at the engine end, and that's not just because it's obviously a lot heavier at that end. It's just that yeah, the attachment points are at a different level than in the front, but that doesn't necessarily matter. It's quite level, and this is actually higher. The gunnels are higher than they were on this little dinghy, so the chance of a wave coming over the back is going to be less. But I'll go up there and make sure there's no chafe points. So this is very close. It's just touching on there. I'm not sure if that's a bit of a worry. See, if it's moving like this, it's just touching. That's not ideal. I would like a bit more clearance than that. Let's look at the back here. So here it's actually rubbing around this reinforcing bar, but otherwise it's not anything near the engines. I don't think that at the back there with the engine bar is a problem. I mean, it might scratch the powder coating off, sorry Highfield, but I'm okay with that for a while. We'll see how we go. If it starts eating into the stainless steel wire will be stronger than the aluminium. So if it makes it wears a couple little grooves in there, not beautiful, but not tragic. The problem is, if I would hook it onto these ones, the dinghy would be, yeah, a good 30 centimeters lower, which I don't really want. So I think we'll just run it like this for a while, and we will like cross tie it with these little hooks here. This is what I had on the other dinghy. I'll have to rearrange them, but basically we've got these little hooks on some Dyneema strap, and for example we can put them on here and then tie this one tight, and we'll do that at either end and pull them against each other, and then that stops any sideways movement or backwards and front. Basically just locks it in place, and as long as it's locked in place and nothing is chafing on anything, we should be good. What I also have to do here is, where it's rubbing on here, I'll get some sticky back foam and stick it on the davits down here. Basically that foam, like the stuff that's in the floor of this, I'll get some of that and stick it down there so we just don't get any chafe points there. Obviously up the front here it's not a problem, there'll be no rubbing there. So it looks pretty beautiful, I would say. I would say it's an awesome new addition to Trade Runner. We're going to have another look from here. Fits on there like a glove. By the way, this is the Highfield UL310. That UL stands for ultralight, and it's 3 meters 10 long. I had a choice of which one I could get. There are a few different ones, and basically you can break them down to two categories, these smaller ones, ultralight and the classic. The classic is the, I would say, more luxury version maybe. It has a double floor, and the it's a flat floor that you're standing on, and then underneath is a gap and there's the V. So you always basically have dry feet, because any water that comes in goes through into in between the hulls. It means you can put your fuel hose from the Bowser at the front underneath, and so you're never tripping over your fuel hose. It's got a lockable box in the front for your fuel canister and your safety gear and all that sort of stuff. It's a much cleaner look, and it's sort of got a square front and not the round front that this has got. All those things I really, really like, and I would love to have, but it always comes at a compromise. Everything on a boat's a compromise. Well, basically it came down to, with my motor and my davits, the weight that they can lift, and the motor, how much I can push to get on the plane. I could have got a classic 2.6 meter, or I could have got the ultralight 310 and get on the plane as well, because those two dinghies, well actually the 310 weighs even a little less than the 2.6. So that's the difference. The classic, the nicer one, it's a lot heavier. It's got two floors in it, it's got this big box in the front, and it's got more, well, it's got a square front on it sort of. So you get a nicer dinghy in one way, but then you need a bigger engine if you want to have a 310, and then if you have a bigger engine, that means everything's more heavy, and then your davits might not be strong enough, and then you can't pull it up the beach by yourself. So, you know, everything's a compromise on a boat. I've learnt that. And for me, I would rather have a slightly bigger dinghy, but still be able to use my 10 horsepower engine and get on the plane. Anyway, I chose this one, Ultralight 310. Hopefully we'll be able to rip around and get out to the reef and all those sorts of things that this other little dinghy, the Walker Bay, wasn't. You know, that's a displacement hull. You can't, doesn't matter how big an engine, you can't plane. And this is our car. This is our daily driver. You know, we go and park the catamaran, and then we go snorkeling and exploring up rivers and going and talking to locals and fishing and going and getting fuel and going and getting water, all that sort of stuff. We use this. This is just our car. We have to be able to rely on it and get around fast. Sometimes when it's choppy, you're better off to be on top of the waves planing than you are going through them and getting splashed. So this is it. So Highfield has come to the party, and well, super stoked. This is a massive big step up in our preparations for making this boat our home and you know, making everything work. We're going to go and give it a test run now and see how she goes. Yeah, by the way, we're in Scarborough Marina, as I said. They've been friends of ours for a long time. This is actually where I started sailing. This is where I first hauled out a boat, learnt at the yacht club over here. I went on wags and sags, social racing, all that sort of thing. This is sort of, even though I've never lived in this area, this is the home for sailing for me. All my 3 boats I've kept here for longer periods of time. You saw on Schiehallion we did the whole paint job in here, and got to say thanks to Richard and Tracy, who run this place. Magic, you guys really yeah, I rang up and say I want to come in, and you guys sort me out short notice as usual. I'm not really organised. Say, can I come in 2 days? And they're like, yeah, we've got your berth for you, and they look after us really well. So thanks guys, really cool. I can only recommend this Scarborough Marina highly. I don't just say that because we're here. It is a magical place. I mean, look at the shots around here, and you've got great fish and chip shop, and there's a brewery just over there. Me and Weewa have been enjoying their brews. I don't know what it's called, but you'll figure it out. It's a beautiful brewery, good food, and yeah, right, let's go and test this thing anyway. Enough talking. So yeah, I'm about to go and do the fun part, go for a bit of a rip and see how this thing goes. It feels very stable compared to my old one. Alright guys, I'm absolutely stoked with this dinghy. We've just been out for a test cruise, as you can see. Really stable. That's the thing I like about it. And that's what I'm talking about, compromise. I would prefer to have a longer, lighter dinghy than a shorter, heavier one, if you're talking about running it with the same engine. This one's light, but it powers through the chop and the waves better, but we still get on the plane really easily. So me and Marie and a bunch of dive gear and our chopping and all that, we'll easily get on the plane, but compared to our last dinghy, because it's longer, it'll just float through the chop much more. We won't get as wet, and it's super stable. I can literally, like, look, this is on one side, and it's nothing. Like, you can stand on one side and jump on it. It's amazing. Probably the double floor would be something I would miss, because it is really good. But for the extra 10 kilos of weight, it's just the compromise. If I had a 15 horsepower engine, no big deal. That's just the way it is with compromises. You can't have everything. I would like to be 20 years younger and 10 kilos lighter, but here we are. I'm living with what I've got. And I have got an amazing dinghy right now. So I'm very happy with that. And I must say thank you very much to Highfield for supplying us with this dinghy. You will see us. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm not going to throw this in your face every day, but I probably will do an update in about 6 months, because obviously now I can't tell you how great it is apart from my first impression, and I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm expecting a lot. It's Hyperlon, it's aluminium floor, it's 10-year guarantee on the tubes, which is incredible. I mean, it's 5-year guarantee, but when I register it, I get an extra 5 years. Who gets that these days? 10 years, these Hyperlon tubes. But anyway, I can't really say more than what I've just experienced now, 20-30 minutes of driving around with it. But we will be using it literally every single day. This is our daily driver, and you will see it pretty much in lots of videos, but I'm not going to talk about it too much, just you know, when we like it, which might be more often than you think. Anyway, we're going to load it up. We're heading out. We're going up to Double Island Point Lagoon tomorrow. Beautiful as Scarborough Marina is, we love to be out in the wild, and that's what this thing is for. It's getting us around places, going exploring, seeing beaches and up rivers and things like that. So yeah, once again, thanks very much, Highfield. Thanks for our sponsors. Obviously you guys didn't pay for this. We got this one from Highfield, but if we weren't making these videos, Highfield wouldn't be interested in us, and we wouldn't have got a free dinghy. And it's not free, we're paying for it, we're giving Highfield props. But it's you patrons that are keeping me making videos and editing videos and doing 2 or 3 days a week work to keep those coming to you guys. So thanks, patrons, awesome. WeWa is one of the big ones, that's why he's on board right now. The top tier patrons anyway get to come on board and live with us for a while. WeWa's taking that credit now. On this trip north. So yep, if you'd like to become a patron, there's a big link below. Skip into there. You can go from the $1 all the way up to what, you know, come on the boat sort of style. Anyway, thanks. See you next week exploring Australia's East Coast.